Afternoon to you all. Welcome to this brand new edition of the YOU ORNS Watford FC post-match. It's the last one of this season in the Championship, as Watford today ended their season with a 1-1 draw at home against Sheffield Wednesday, ending that run of 4 consecutive defeats as Watford ride into the sunset for the off-season. Watford today, spirited performance, I thought, especially in the second half of the game. Sheffield Wednesday got on the board first in a game that really didn't mean anything to either team, as both finish in mid-table. Sheffield Wednesday finished 12th, Watford finished 14th, and Watford, I think, performed pretty well today. They were good in the first half, and as I said, better and much more spirited in the second half. Watford in the sunshine at Vicarage Road in the early afternoon kickoffs. In fact, all of the championship games today on this, the last day of the championship season, finished with a kickoff at 12:30 p.m. And Watford looked good. It looked really lively in the second half, really found their sea legs. Very aggressive Watford in that second half. Really good stuff from Pierre Duoma. Really good stuff also from Imran Louza, who is probably going to end up as the Graham Taylor Watford FC player of the season. And also, I really liked a number of other players today doing some really good things. Kevin, James Abankwa, Matty Pollock, the number of Watford players today who were outstanding and who were very good, I thought, at least. Rocco Vata, I think it was more or less a team effort today. Too bad, though, that the lads could not get the win in the final game of the season. Musa Sissoko was very lively. He got the equalizing goal for Watford at the end of that first half and first half stoppage time to give the Hornets a share of the spoils. And into the break they went. And in the second half, Watford came closest to scoring with a number of opportunities. A very, as I said, lively and reinvigorated Watford. And the bottom line is that Watford, though, could not get past Sheffield Wednesday in the second half. There were some great saves made by the Wednesday goalkeeper, but not anything beyond that that could really trouble him, generally speaking. And Selvig was very quiet and silent in the second half. He didn't really have a heck of a lot to do. The Wednesday goal came from a defensive mistake, as they all do these days. Haven't they ever? What goal hasn't? I mean, a lot of the goals that Watford conceded in this season came from errors that Watford made. Yes, there are goals that come because they are just classy strikes. But in this case today, more of the same that we've seen all season long from your Golden Boys with some defensive mistakes. Kayembe could not get to his man quickly enough, and his man out-jumped him, or should I say out-raced him to the ball and put the ball in to the back of the net from close range in front of the rookery in that first half. And so Watford were down 1-0, but they did, to their credit, come back with, as I said, a very spirited performance. And some of that began actually in the later stages of the first half with the goal scored by Musa Sissoko coming back from suspension. Sissoko on a bit of a revival, as it were, with his goal today, the last one of the Watford campaign. And it was well taken after a tremendous ball from Imran Louza, who was the man of this match, even though there was not a winner in this match. I would say Imran Louza is the man of the match today for his performance. And well done to him. As I said, Louza's probably going to end up winning the player of the season. I think most Watford fans have a certain consensus about that. But today, all in all, a Watford performance that you can't be upset about. You're just upset, really, that they didn't get all 3 points. But if you can't win a game, make sure you do not lose it. And Watford definitely adhered to not losing this game. So what has been a season of some frustration, but I think overall a good season, a learning season for Watford, to me, is what you really have to take away from it, despite the frustrations, despite the potential. You have to look at the fact that this team is learning. This team is a work in progress. This team is younger. This team is in transition. This team still has a lot to learn, and they're learning on the go. And hopefully Watford will learn from this season and learn to be consistent, which is not an easy thing, because that really does involve the mental approach to the game of football. how Watford can go one half and be sublime and then to another half and be subliminal. These are the kinds of things that Watford are going to have to work on. And that is something that we can look at today. But listen, Watford come out with a point. Still, it's a good season. You've got to be happy about the season in the sense that it was a good season. You've got to be disappointed at the same time because Watford could have done so much better had they applied themselves in at least 20 of these 42 games, really, that they played, 46 games, excuse me, that they played this season. And Matt comes in on YouTube with some very good news. Matt, I have some breaking news that Matt has actually come to us with. Hey, Omar, says Matt on YouTube. We might have got a draw today, but at least that lot down the road are going down. Yes. I know that the score was 5-3 when I last looked. If Portsmouth did not defeat Hull, then Matt will be absolutely correct. And he apparently has, and I'm going to look at it myself here now, confirmed that they are going to League One. And that is indeed what, that's not, let's see, wait a minute now. That may not be the case, Matt. The final score from Portsmouth, and you are absolutely right, Matt, is confirmed. Portsmouth 1, Hull City 1 is the full-time score. West Bromwich Albion 5, Luton Town 3. And with that, Luton Town are relegated. Thank you, Matt. I have also independently confirmed that myself. Luton Town are going down, going down, going down, going down. Town are down. That is the breaking news today, which really makes this day all the more sweet for the Watford supporters. Chime in on that. I want to welcome everyone who has popped in and popped out on X. And I also want to welcome in all of those on YouTube who are making comments. And there are one or two of you who have decided to put pen to electronic paper, if you will, with your comments. Thank you, Matt, for that one. As always on YouTube, Loka, the Portsmouth fan, we relegated your rivals. You're welcome. Thank you, Loka. Appreciate what your lads did today at Fratton Park with the 1-1 draw against Hull City. Thank you, Loka. And thank you, Portsmouth, for doing the duty and relegating that doggy kennel lot. You know, they got a new stadium coming up. I don't know what, League One celebrations. Maybe they should call their new stadium League One. But that's great stuff, Loka. Thank you very much indeed. I want to thank you for those comments on YouTube today. So really, I think this post-match gets a little bit brighter, doesn't it? I mean, listen, even if we didn't have Luton go down, the Watford performance today was a really good one. I thought for the most part was a good one. They moved the ball very quick. In the second half, they were even better with it. They were comfortable in their possession for the most part. They were very forward-thinking today. No negative football as far as I was concerned. I didn't see any negativity about Watford's play today. I love the way they spread the ball about. They got some good pace up the pitch. Good ball carrying from Loser, from Abankwah. They looked very spirited and very lively today. They were on it today, Watford were. Definitely you can say that about the lads. They played like they did want to win the game. They were very enthusiastic. And look, they played together as a team, and that's what you want. Again, there will be lots of lessons to be learned in the summer. And I know that the board has expressed the confidence about Tom Cleverley. But listen, whatever you're hearing, as far as I'm concerned for the Watford supporters, I'll believe that Tom Cleverley is here when the season begins in August. Okay. Last week I talked about the importance of making a video and speaking and just saying, hey, look, Tom, thank you for what you're doing. We hope you are continued on here. And look, maybe he is continued on here. Maybe there's stories that escaped my attention about Tom Cleverley staying on. I hope he does, but I don't want to take anything for granted. None of us should. And nobody seems to be overly concerned that he's going to be leaving. But I am concerned. I just do not know for sure. Now, we don't know. Nothing's guaranteed except a couple of things, right, in life. But I just want to make sure that he is here, and the only way we can do that is by making our voices heard and also making sure that he is here. I mean, let's hope that he is not gone in the off season. That's the way I look at it. Listen, it's better to be prepared and be wrong than it is to sit here with a false sense of security, and then it comes to bite you back. Excuse me, to bite you in the backside. Better to prepare and to be out there saying, "Stay, Tom, stay. Come on, the owner's got to keep you." Than and be wrong because he is going to stay, than not say anything at all and then have an unpleasant surprise in the summer. So look, until the season begins next season, and I see Tom Cleverley patrolling the sideline with my own two eyes, I am going to assume that anything can happen in the summer. Now, of course, in the off season when they do the preseason stuff, and if I see Tom Cleverley there, then I will relax a bit more. I will relax a bit more. I honestly will, no matter what is being said, because contracts are made to be broken. That's just the cynical way I look at it. And so if you look at it like that, you've got to look in life. And I'm a very optimistic and very positive person. But as you get older, what I do, and I'm still positive and still very optimistic, you assume for the best and prepare for the worst. I mean, that's just the way. That's the way it is. That's the way I look at it anyway. Assume the best, but prepare for the worst. That's that's just the way it goes for me. Anyone on X who would love to chime in about Watford versus Sheffield Wednesday, about the season in general, about who you'd like to bring back, about who you think the player of the season is, and that goes for you on YouTube as well. You're more than welcome to hit the request button, and let's have you on to talk about Watford and what you see for next season. I'm going to come to Ryan. Ryan has dutifully responded to that. And Ryan, I will come to you in just one moment. Just want to read out a couple of things really quickly on YouTube. Brown Electrons, hello to you on YouTube. And he says Kayembe was unlucky not to score. Yeah, Kayembe's been unlucky not to score in about 4 or 5 of these last 6 games, Brown. I don't think he's had a particularly great season, although he has 8 goals. But yes, he has been much more focused on trying to score in the last few moments. And before I come to Ryan on X, here's a couple more comments on YouTube. Matt, hello to you again, Matt. Matt says that lot down the road should call their new ground the double relegation stadium, as they've had back-to-back relegations. That is a good one, Matt. Love it. Thank you for that. And Brown says, thank you. Yes, thank you, Loca. Back-to-back relegations for the town. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Brown. Ryan is coming on board next on X. And by the way, I'm going to send a screenshot to that Luton fan who earlier this season, back in October of last year, when they bottled us up 3-0, said we're going to finish higher up in the table than you. Oh, I've got the screenshot. Just look out for that tweet on X coming up a bit later on. Oh, right then, Ryan. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Ryan is next on You ORNS post-match Watford FC on X and YouTube. Hello there.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon there, Ryan.
How are we?
Very, very good indeed. I got my oatmeal here with bananas and blueberries, so I'm doing all right. How about you, mate?
Nice. Sounds good.
Yep.
Well, Luton getting relegated, mate. I'm buzzing. It's made a very poor end to the season a little bit more bearable.
Absolutely. I second that. 110%.
I'm so glad they've gone down.
Me too.
I'm so happy they've gone down.
Oh, going down, going down, going down, going down.
Going down.
Whoa!
I turned off the Watford game in the end to watch the whole game.
Oh, good for you, mate. I should have done the same thing because I get the whole stuff out here too. I get all the games here, so I should have done the same thing. And I didn't. But that's great stuff there, Brian. I'm really happy about this news that they're down.
Yes.
So good that they're down.
Fucking idiot.
Oh my God. They might go to the National League at this rate, mate, or League 2 or whatever it is.
It's got a business.
Oh God. And it wasn't. Hey Ryan, from what I heard, weren't they thinking about a new stadium? That lot.
I believe they got a new stadium. I believe that work starts on their new stadium in a few weeks or whatever.
Oh, nice. League One stadium. Come on to the League One. Come on, you're coming to League One. Hey, listen.
Yes.
We got something.
Bit of news that we've had recently.
Seriously, I was about to say.
Supporters.
Exactly. We've got something to shout about. Go on, Ryan. Go on.
But back to our season. It's petered out and it really bad. I hope that Tom's still in charge come the start of next season. But if I'm honest, I'm not sure he will be.
I'm with you, Ryan.
He will be. I hope he is because I like him. He's people got to remember it's his first stint in management, and I hope he's still around. But it's one of those, isn't it? Because we have been awful since Boxing Day.
It's been really poor.
Six wins since Boxing Day.
That's scary. That is really scary.
You take that form into next season, and okay, we're laughing at Luton now, but that could easily be us.
So very true, Ryan. Very concerning. Although, and you're quite right about the 6 wins. I mean, I actually think though overall it has been a good, positive season for Watford. Although, albeit a very frustrating one, as I was saying before you came on, we have to. I mean, listen. I'm going to be very direct and honest as always about what I see with this club and what I see with the team, men's first team. But we also have to acknowledge that it has been a good season in the sense that there's been some continuity. The manager didn't get sacked in the season.
Yep.
The Watford had a long run, that run of 17 unbeaten at the Vic. Watford were in the top 6 or 7 for much of the first half of the season. And there were players who've improved. The comeback player of the year for me is Louza. I know everybody says player of the season, but I don't. I dissent from that view. I think that Louza is the comeback player of the season. I think the player of the season, even though he didn't play a full season, is Kwadwo Bar. So there are some silver linings. There's some positive things about Watford, but it's a frustrating season at the same time, Ryan. I agree with you there.
No, there is some positives to have. Like you say, Bar being obviously probably the standout player for us for the whole season, even though he has been injured since January.
Right.
But a little bit of good recruitment, and I don't mean go and spend loads of money because we all know we're low on funds, but just a little bit of clever recruitment. And Tom could have a basis of a half a decent squad again next year. Selvik is going to be staying. We know that. I think we need a new right back because I don't think Andrews or Ngakia are quite good enough at right back. But we've got obviously Caban. We could have a banquet back by the sounds of it. We've got Matty Pollock, which I think is probably for me my personal player of the season. Caleb Wiley staying around for another year. Then you got. He looked quite decent today from what I saw. Was Pierre Duomo. He's starting to make his own strides.
Very good, yes.
Rumours have it that Hector Cipriano, who's already signed from Peterborough, who I'm a big fan of.
Oh, good.
I've seen him up close and personal. Obviously, when I follow Exeter, I've seen him a few times playing them, and decent player. And then you got obviously Bar and Vata and Dumbia, and then you got some of the youth players that could break through. So a few little bit of recruitment here and there, and Tom potentially could have an okay, decent squad.
Yeah, and
in our club, we won't sign anybody, and we'll sell half that team.
Exactly. From your lips to God's ears, Planet Earth to owner of this present owner of this club. Planet Earth is calling the owner of this club that is presently the owner and telling him to make some wise, efficient investment. We need efficiency in investment. We need wise investment. Wise. You can talk about strong investment, but it's got to be wise investment, because wise investment is strong investment. And I hope that this owner, I said this last week, Ryan, by the way, when I was doing this post-match on both YouTube and on X, where I've been munching my oatmeal that people on X obviously can't see that. But I was saying last week, this owner has to make wise investments, and people are talking about Tom Cleverley as if he's going to be here next season. I said last week, do not take that for granted. We have to make our voices heard and keep this man honest. And I mean, that's the owner, and I don't trust the owner, but you got to keep him honest. That's why I put that video out there last week, because I was hoping that other fans would follow on and do the same thing. That apparently, from what I've seen lately, has not really materialized. But I would hate for this to happen, Ryan, that we're going through into June and into July, and then by mid-July somehow Cleverley's gone. And if any
Yeah.
time if there was ever going to be a time where this owner will put a trick like that, it's either in the summer or during an international break. And that's why I think we as Watford supporters have got to keep our voices up during the summer. I know our fan base, Ryan, I'll let you have your words on this, obviously, and anyone else wants to chime in. Our fan base, some of us can be very, very, what's the word? Fairly milquetoast, which is fairly quiet and easygoing, which is fine.
Yeah.
But when it comes to matters like this that affect the club and affect these men's first team players or any players, women's players, whomever, we have to keep our voices up, mate, because I am concerned that we turn our backs and go on our Butlins holiday or whatever it is, and bang, he gets rid. I just hope I'm wrong, Ryan. Over to you.
I fully agree. I really hope that he doesn't get rid. I think we need to keep Tom for consistency to start building something that we've all wanted. And yeah, I hope that we don't turn on to Sky Sports tomorrow or Twitter or whatever it be, and we see that dreaded corner flag. I said this back in January after the whole, that he might be getting sacked thing came out and all that. That if he was to stay, he's on borrowed time. It's Gino end of the day. We know what Gino's like, and I fully concur that we need to keep the pressure on the board to make sure that they don't fire Tom or sack him. Not just because he's, ex-captain, ex-player. We've been down this road so many times. A new manager doesn't mean better results. What would it be now? Number 20 if Tom was to go?
Right.
Not for me. It's time we actually let a manager manage, build, and learn. And that's the most important bit, is learn. People forget this is Tom's first rodeo. He's never done this before. And let's be honest, 12 months ago, 11 months ago, a lot of us were thinking, we're going to be in a relegation scrap. We're going to be in the bottom three. Well, we haven't been. Yes, we counted off and we've been pretty poor the back end of the season, but we've had big players missing, like Bar, like Jack Fadazzi being missing. And when you got your two best players like that out of the team, you're going to struggle no matter what team you are, unless you're like Leeds and got ready-made replacements. But
right.
the average championship team, you take their two best players out and they'll go on the same bit of form that we have.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So the board have to remember that. Gino has to remember that. But it's Gino. I'm sure as hell that Gino would have fired Graham Taylor, because that's what Gino does. So yeah, as much as I want Tom to stay around, I do worry. I do worry because of who's the one in the driving seat, and I just hope not. But yeah, I'll be gutted to see him go if he does.
Ryan, I share your sentiments very much indeed. Ryan, it's been great to have you on board as ever. Really appreciate your comments, Ryan, and for this season as well. We'll see you next season as well, won't we?
See you next season. Have a great off season.
Thank you. You too, mate. Be well.
And stay safe in America, because I know.
Oh yeah, thanks
that's a
for
whole
that.
other rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for that, Ryan. Appreciate it very much. Take care now.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers. Ryan there with his comments about Tom Cleverley and Watford. And look, this owner has to realize, and Ryan touched on this a bit. I'm going to read out your comments on YouTube in a short moment, so bear with me, YouTubers. Thank you for joining us here on You ORNS Watford FC post-match. The last one of this championship season is Watford and Sheffield Wednesday battle tour, 1-1 draw at the Vic. And of course, the town are down to League One. Now, listen, off the back of what Ryan said, and he touched on this, is that this owner must realize that the mast, M-A-S-T, the mast that he attaches himself to as the owner of this club is also tied to Tom Cleverley. And how this club does based upon the Watford men's first team should also be tied to the fortunes of Gino Pozzo. He's here. The board is here, and until further notice, they're going to be here. It's not going to be forever, but for the time that they are here, the owner of this club that we love so dearly and so preciously must be aware and must know that the fortunes of Watford Football Club and of Gino Pozzo are inextricably linked to Mr. Tom Cleverley and to this men's first team and how it does. Look, there are lots of other great things going on at Watford Football Club beyond the men's first team. There are lots of really good things that make this club such an important club, the fabric of this club, the lifeblood of this club. This club belongs to all of us, right? And this owner has to realize that. I think he does. I'm just being honest. I think he does know that. But what I am concerned about is that he does not understand that tearing up infrastructure harms him as well as it does the club and the relationship between the club and the fans. Gino Pozzo must understand that Tom Cleverley is an integral part of this club. And Ryan pointed this out earlier. It's not only because he was a former club captain here, not only because he had 2 great spells here, not only because he was the under-18s coach here. That's not the sole reason. For me, it's even bigger than all of those things. It is because this man is representing something that looks like change in the sense that he is actually improving this men's first team. That's what I mean by what I just said about looking like change. They finished, what, 14th? Okay, 1 place above where they finished last season. Tom Cleverley managed the last 9 games of last season. They finished 15th. This season, Tom Cleverley ran through the entire season without being sacked. I told you that before the season started this season, that he would not get sacked, although it got a little dicey there in January and February. But what Tom Cleverley did this season cannot be swept under the rug. As frustrating as a lot of this season has been, this season was still a good season for Watford, in my view. And Watford fans, please take issue with that, and I'll listen. We'll all listen to you. But it was a good season. They went 17 unbeaten at the Vic. They improved their standing in the league, albeit by 1 place, and obviously by more points, maybe 1 or 2 more points than the last season. They did not win enough games, obviously. They lost 20 of them, at least, this season. They have only won 6 since, since Boxing Day or whenever it is. However, there have been promising signs. There have been improved players. There's been the emergence of Rocco Vata. There's been the emergence of James Abanko, although albeit on loan. I hope he gets to come back here. Mamadou Doumbia, looking really good. He's here for a few years. Although I always say records and contracts are made to be broken. But we've seen improvements. We've seen very promising young players like Mamadou Doumbia. We've seen Vata, as I said. Imran Louza has had a resurgence. Imran Louza was on the outs at this club. He was going to leave. He was at Lorient on loan under Mr. Valérien Ismaël. Discipline issues under Mr. Valérien Ismaël. That was Imran Louza last season. Now this guy is is like a house on fire, and most Watford fans are going to vote him player of the season. The voting ended at the beginning of this week, back on Monday, actually. I am one of the very few who did not vote for him player of the season. I vote for him as the comeback player. I know there's not an award for it, but if I did an awards thing, I would give him comeback player of the season, because that's what Imran Louza is, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he's been always consistent for us, but he has improved. He is the comeback player of the season and the most improved player of the season. That's where I'd put Imran Louza. My player of the season, as I said earlier, is Kwadwo Bar. Now, I know he didn't play the whole season, but the bottom line is that this man made Watford bolder, made Watford more dynamic. You missed him. He was a glaring miss when he wasn't on the pitch. He always was a significant threat. He gave Watford that electricity that this team has desperately needed since, for goodness knows, forever, right? For 4 or 5 years since we've not had. I mean, this was the kind of player that I think made the difference for us, despite him being out for a significant period. So Cordova Bar is my player of the season. That's the way I look at it. But the whole overall point here I'm making, fellow Watford supporters, and thanks for your patience as I diagram this out a bit more. And I'll read out your comments on YouTube in just a moment's time. And thank you for those on X who are presently listening. Thank you indeed. And don't forget to subscribe to the You ORNS WFC YouTube channel. It would be greatly appreciated. Follow along at You ORNS WFC on both X and Instagram, where I'll be going in a few short minutes. So thank you for that. But what I want to say as a part of this diagramming of this, when you think about all these things, that despite the frustrations of this season, there have been a number of really strong improvements in players. That is promising. You cannot deny that. As frustrated as we are as Watford supporters, as frustrated as we are as the potential of this team kind of went down the toilet, as frustrated as we are by the defending mistakes, the calamity, the Jekyll and Watford halves, one half brilliant, the other half subliminal. As frustrated we are, but all of that, we cannot ignore what's going on in the forest for the trees, right? We can't ignore that, right? The improvement of Imran Louza, the younger players bedded in, doing very well. Vata doing well. We had, obviously, Mamadou Doumbia, as I've just talked about. Pierre Droma has come in here and done a good job in the very limited time he's been here, despite the injuries. Kevin, the same. Injuries, but played well. Abankwa, as I've talked about. These are lots of positives to be dwelling on. You know, the goalkeeper, Selvik, absolutely got to be the number one, and I think he will be next season. Daniel Backman is nowhere near the rotation now. He wasn't even on the team sheet today. And I've not looked at any of the news lately with Watford, but I don't think Daniel Backman's going to be here next season. Forget the contract. As I keep saying, contracts are made to be broken. And I think he's going to be out. I don't see Daniel Backman coming back in here, but you never know. Who knows? You never know. But the bottom line is that Selvik's your number one. That's another notable thing. He was terrific in goal. He made one mistake the whole time he's been here since January. Come on, one mistake. That was in the game, was it against Portsmouth I think it was? Yeah, one mistake he made. Selvik. Sensible goalkeeper, much, much better goalkeeper than what we've ever had here lately, right? I mean, you can talk about Gomez. Gomez was terrific when he was here, you know. But the bottom line is that Selvik has obviously got to be your number one goalkeeper, right? You've got Caleb Wiley. Who knows if he's going to stay on? He's on loan, but who knows if they're going to get him back here? Caleb Wiley, I thought, did well in the short time he's been here. Young lad from the United States, from over here in the States. I think he acquitted himself pretty well in the short time he's been here. Lots of positives despite the very frustrating season. I would say, on balance, it's been a good season. There are things to really look at and say, right, that we've made some progress here. But here's the other thing I want to say. There are lots of lessons that this lot have to learn for next season. And that's not just the players on the pitch. It's the owner and the board. There are lessons they have to learn. Tom Cleverley has lessons to learn. Some of us have been frustrated with the substitution patterns and the tactics. But speaking for myself only, there have been very few times this season where I have been frustrated by the tactics and the subs. There's been maybe 5 times in a 46-game season where I've had to say here and to myself, what is he doing with that? Why didn't he sub this person off? Why didn't he bring this one on earlier? I can think of one game in particular, the Oxford game, where Vato, even though I know he was coming back from illness, he was not brought on until after Oxford scored the winning goal in their game against us. Abankwa got sent off. But there's maybe 5 instances the whole entire season where I've had to say that. Now, the other Watford fans may have views that are a bit more different from that, which is fine. We all can agree to disagree. That's fine. But what I'm just trying to say here is that despite this very frustrating season, it's been a good season. It's been a positive season. Now, Bio, thank you and good night and good luck in Udinese. That's what I'll say. For someone I actually really did like, but have become increasingly critical of over this season. Despite his 10 goals, he really did not add too much, did he? And some Watford fans would go a lot further than I have. He scored just 2 goals, I think, since those 4 at Wednesday. So look, there are some really good positives on Watford, and of course there are the frustrations. Jeremy Ngaki, I think, had a decent season, but I think he needs to move on now. I think he does. And then finally, I think in terms of our defending, Matty Pollock obviously will come back. I certainly expect that. TDB did not have a great season. Look, he had injuries, but TDB, in my view, did not have the best season. And this was the season where he was tipped by people like Troy Deeney at the beginning of the season to have a good season. Watch this man, watch this lad. That's what Troy Deeney was saying before the season began. It turns out that TDB, as the season went on, became an invisible player in some respects. He had a good start to the season, which was true. He scored a few key goals early on in the season, including against Blackburn Rovers in the home match that we won against them. I believe he was or that one, or against Sunderland, whichever team it was that we beat. We beat all 3 of them at the Vic. But in one of those games, he scored a key late goal off from the penalty spot. So he had a good early part of the season. But once we got to January, and he had injuries and things, once we got to January this year, he disappeared. TDB was not a factor anymore in many of these games. So no one's going to really talk about that too much, I don't think. But TDB did not have a good second half of the season overall, and I'd say the whole season for him was a little bit down from what perhaps some of us expected, particularly people like Troy Deeney. And so that's that. But look, there are just those few things that you can pour over. But overall, despite these frustrations, despite the inconsistency, that's the other thing Watford, I hope, learn from. It's been a positive season. It's been a good season in the sense of all of these kinds of things that I've just mentioned, laid out over these last 5 or 6 minutes. But I need to go and read out the comments on YouTube now, and I'll also switch to Instagram in a few moments' time as well. I want to thank those of you on X for listening, but let me read out these comments first on YouTube. Thank you for them. Keep them coming. Brown Electron says, when was the last Premier League back-to-back relegation? Southampton. Yes, I think Southampton would be correct, Brown, because the last time Southampton were in, they also went down at the end of that season, I believe. And so they came back. Exactly. Southampton did go down. Then they went down to the Championship. Then they won, of course, in the playoff final last season against Leeds. That was the one where Leeds really thought they had it wrapped up. And it was, I think Southampton won that game 1-0 in the playoff final last season. And Southampton, of course, went up to the Premier League off of the back of that and then went straight back down. This is, I think, this is the second of the last 3 seasons where every team, or maybe not, this is the first season in maybe a few seasons in the Premier League where all 3 of the teams that went up, who were promoted, went straight back down. I predicted that would happen, by the way, that Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton would all go straight back down, and they have. The Premier League has actually been decided, obviously, already. And, of course, the only thing that needs to be decided there is the Champions League places. And all the rest of it. But other than that, it's pretty much sorted in the Premier League. But as for your point there, Brown Electrons on YouTube, you're right. Southampton, back-to-back Premier League relegations. That is exactly correct. Let's see if they come back up next season. Richard Lees, hello, Richard, on YouTube. He says this: 14th place with a bit more investment could do a bit better next season. Hope Tom stays. Luton down. Made my day. Thank you, Richard Lees. It's made my day as well as many Watford supporters as well, besides you and I. We are going to be celebrating that as if Watford did win today. And Watford did actually win today in that sense. Now, we didn't win the game, but we absolutely win in that sense that we can really have a laugh at that lot up the road. And I cannot wait, because I still got the screenshot. I cannot wait to put that screenshot on X and go to that Luton Town fan and at that Luton Town fan who told me in the screenshot that Luton were going to finish higher than Watford after that 3-0 win that they had over us in October. And I didn't say anything to him at the time because I know better than to chirp in October when you still have what? 6 blooming months of a season to go? 7 months of a season? 8 months of a season? You still got 8 months, almost 7 months of a season to go. I know better than to chirp in October. And that's why I know, listen, I can't help myself with this. When people were saying, some people in the BBC Three Counties saying, oh, where are Watford going to finish? And they were saying this in October, late October, talking about where's Watford going to finish? Top six? Top six? It's like you can't predict where Watford are going to finish, do the prediction in season. You have to do it before the season based on the investment or lack thereof. I predicted they would finish eighth. And I did that largely not on the investment, quite frankly, but because there was none, largely on the back of the fact that Tom Cleverley came in the previous season and added a little tweak to their identity and changed it a bit. And they showed a lot more under him. And they were playing for the man. And I thought that they really would go to eighth. They obviously were hovering around there for much of the season. They were around fifth and sixth and seventh. And then after November, they were out of the picture. Really, it came around mid-December. That's when they started to climb down the table, fall down the table. And then they finished 14th. So listen, it's just on the second half of the table, just below mid-table. It's roughly mid-table anyway. That's still a solid finish for a team that for an owner that yet again didn't invest. You can't sack this man, Tom. That's why I keep saying you cannot sack him. For an owner that didn't invest, he brought in Salvik. Can't say he didn't do anything. He brought Salvik in. He brought a banquet in. He brought Wiley in. So when a team that has very little investment, Kevin came in, a banquet, Dumbia, okay, fine. But still very little investment, generally speaking. And they still finished 14th. You cannot sack that. You've got to give that man some real, serious, wise investment, as I said earlier. You got to give him that. We need to sing it loud, says Matt. Thank you, Matt, for this comment. And I'm going to head to Instagram in just a moment. But I've got to read this comment from Matt first before I do. We need to sing it out, sing it loud and sing it proud that we as fans want Cleverley to stay on as our manager because he's done his best this season with the injuries and sendings off he's had to do with this season. Thank you very much for that, Matt. That is absolutely the thing I feel as well. That's what I think. That's what I feel. You've got to keep Tom Cleverley on. I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks, and we as fans have got to raise our voices about this. I did a video that I posted on Instagram at YOU ORNS WFC and on X at YOU ORNS WFC, and I didn't post it on YouTube, but perhaps I should still do that from last week. And I made it very clear that Tom, thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a really good job. And the owner, and I said to the owner, we really appreciate you keeping Tom because he's very important to this club and to the fans and to the players. And I basically made that plea to the owner in not so many words. And I was asking people last week. I was telling Watford fans last week, make a video. Maybe everyone is not able to do that for lots of different reasons. Maybe people are camera shy. Maybe people don't have a way with words. Maybe whatever it is. But or maybe there are other difficulties. But we have to communicate to this club and to this owner that we need to have Tom Cleverley here, that we want him here, that the owner has to bring him back here. Nothing is guaranteed. I understand that, except a couple of things in life, right? But bottom line, aside from those couple of things in life that are guaranteed, it is not set in stone that Tom Cleverley is here next season. And I'm hearing people on certain networks and hearing people on this network and that radio network and this one going on, talking as if Tom Cleverley is going to be here. We don't know that for a fact. Not set in stone. It's not. It's not set in stone. Georgie Shakhtar, I don't think is going to be here next season. Quite frankly, I think that his season, second half of his season was a disappointment. And if I'm going to talk about TDB, I'm going to talk about Georgie Shakhtar as well. I think he's gone anyway. I think he's a goner. Georgie was good the first half of the season. Second half of the season, not so much. Just being honest. Nobody gets a pass. And I love this club. I love this men's first team. I love the women's team. These academy lads. All these people, they bust their behinds. I think Georgie's going to move on. And I don't think it's a terrible idea, quite frankly, if he does. If he's here, great. But Watford really do have to start making wise investments. And he is a wise investment. Don't get me wrong. And I know there's a contract that he's here for 4 or 5 years. But as I keep saying to you, records and contracts are made to be broken. That's the truth. Matt, I'm going to continue with your other comment, but I want to say to those of you on X, thank you so very much indeed for listening. It has been a pleasure and really a joy to have you aboard all season long. It really has been throughout an up and down season, an inconsistent season, a frustrating season, but really for me also a good season for Watford, a positive season for Watford, because there have been things in this men's first team that have been very encouraging. There have been people, there have been players in this men's first team who have grown, who have been very encouraging. And that is one of the biggest reasons I call this a good season for Watford. But there's a lot more improvement to be done. And that to me is up to the owner and also up to us as fans during this off season. We cannot afford to go on holiday as far as Gino is concerned. We should go on holiday, but we should also keep our eye and keep up our vocal cords and keep up our visibility. If we can't keep up our vocal cords, our visibility on social media and elsewhere to tell this owner that we want Tom Cleverley here. Thank you to those on X. We'll continue on YouTube for a few more minutes. We'll go to Instagram next. Thank you very much indeed. The final score today in the final game of this season is Watford 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1. And the town are down. Take care, Watford supporters. Have a great, great summer. And it has been a pleasure. My name is Omar. Take care, all of those of you listening on X. And until next season, be well and have a great summer, everyone. So that's the story on X wrapped up on at YOU ORNS WFC on X. Please follow there, won't you? I'm going to go to Instagram in a moment's time, and it would be great to talk to folks there. I want to read out the rest of your comments. I'm still eating my syrup, my oatmeal, which is getting a bit cold. I'll have to have a gander of it here. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to just do this now before I go to Instagram. That is blueberries, bananas, and oatmeal. Plain. I love it. Now, let me just read out these things here. Let's see. Oh dear, lots going on here. And thank you, Watford supporters, for bearing with me here. I'm just kind of shuffling the deck a bit here. I really do believe that our voices are integral to everything here. And I want to also make a note of something that I don't think anyone's talked about yet. We have in the Watford media someone who has been really important to Watford FC. And I have to say that he really did a really good job. And you know who I'm talking about. That would be Mr. Andrew French, who this week made it official and announced that he would be leaving next month from the Watford Observer. And I do want to talk about him as we go live also on Instagram. I'll read out your comments on YouTube as well. I have not neglected you, Matt. I'm going to read your comment in a moment. But thank you, Meeks, for joining us on Instagram. But I really do believe that we really need to... What do we think of Luton? Says Meeks. You know what we think of Luton. What do we think of Luton? Thank you. That's all right. Wait, Luton, wait, Luton, wait, Luton, wait, Luton. All right. But let me just get back to this. And thank you, Meeks, for that. Andrew French really did a great job at the Watford Observer. He used to be many moons ago. Thank you, Meeks, for that. Really appreciate it. That's all right. Many moons ago, and not too many moons ago, Andrew French was the public information officer at Watford Football Club. Had a great relationship and has a great relationship with some of the people who were there at the time. And Andrew French, who, of course, for 3 seasons did the Watford coverage on the Watford Observer, did a really good job. I thought raised the critical questions about Watford FC and the owner and what was going on in aspects of the club that needed to be raised, that I think a good few journalists would not ever touch. And I think that's a tribute to Andrew. I do wish him the very best as he is hanging up his writing shoes or writing boots, if you will, for the Observer. I want to just publicly say here, thank you so much, Andrew, for all of the great reporting that you have done. Of course, you are going to be around until June or through June at the Watford Observer. Really do appreciate the work you've done. You know, I've talked about this on X as well. So Andrew has seen my comments and knows that I really think he's done an excellent job. And I'm not the only Watford fan, obviously, who feels that way about Andrew. Andrew has been a really indispensable journalist and really someone who holds Watford FC to account, holds the owner to account. And as he described in his column that he wrote this week, you know, admitted that some of that led to some of the relationships being a bit more fraught, a little bit tricky with the club. But that's what happens when journalists do their job like Andrew French does. Yeah, you're going to have those people who are in powerful positions going to be uncomfortable. They're not going to like you too much. They're not going to be giving you a lot, right, in the way of things in terms of coverage when, get this, you're writing things that force people to think about what the club is doing. Of course, the club doesn't like that. Like politicians don't like that. I mean, I don't want to go into politics, but I'm just using that as a signpost example for context, right? We all know that in this forum that the press is a very important thing, and it's a very powerful thing. And when it's done right, people really get to know what's going on. And Andrew French did it right at the Watford Observer. So thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much indeed. Wishing you all the very best with your future endeavors, and keep going, keep doing the work. Whatever you're doing, Andrew, beyond the Watford Observer when you leave there, just make sure you keep doing it in the great tradition of what you did at the Watford Observer. So thank you, Andrew, for that. Really appreciate it very much. Joe Larkin is here on YouTube. You odds, not the best season, says Joe Larkin, but Luton relegation is lovely. Yeah, we loving that. We loving that. We're 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 loving it. Oh, I love it, mate. I absolutely love it. Those of you on Instagram, you might have missed what I just did, but because there's something that was pausing in the video. But look, the bottom line is I want to thank Andrew French, as I said earlier, for the things he's done with the Watford Observer. Really appreciated his writing, and his journalism was really, really solid and strong. And so I'm really pleased that we've all had those 3 seasons with him. Too bad that he is going to be moving, leaving that post. But again, I do wish him once again all the very best in his future endeavors. Now, let me read out the rest of your comments. Messiah Edwards played well when he came on, said Matt. That's so true. Messiah Edwards is a real good find, a jewel in the crown, the academy player, the youth player, who I think has been sensational this season. This was his breakout season. I mean, he was good last season, but he had a breakout season this season, coming into the men's first team on a number of occasions. He got 15 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 20 minutes there. I think next season he'll be a regular fixture in this men's first team like Vata was. And I think that you've got to really start looking at making these adjustments now in the offseason. Yes, we need about 3 more players. I think on X, if you're listening on X earlier, Ryan on X brought this up, the need to get some players in particular positions, right back, maybe left back, who knows, and maybe one other place as well. We need another striker. Dumbia is going to be our main man, I think, next season, but we also need a striker to supplement him because Bio's gone. We know he's out. And not too many Watford fans were missing him. But Dumbia is going to be the main man next season. And I think he's got some really good things about him. I think he scored twice this season for us in the late stages of this season. But Messiah Edwards definitely is going to be involved, I think. And so, Matt, I totally agree. Messiah Edwards, man, there was a run he made in the second half, right into the box, held the ball well. The ball really sticks to him really well. He's a really proficient player. Wise, proficient, smart. He's got good feet. He's able to hold the ball up. He's able to just run and create space for himself in the box. And he's a fearless footballer. I see Messiah Edwards has got bags of talent, bags of quality, and he's fearless. That's what he is. And he will definitely run through walls and defenses for you. So that is Messiah Edwards in a nutshell, I think. He's a talented lad, really brilliant lad. And he's got so much upside to his game. Was he just 18 and 19 years old, whatever? Watford should invest in him and invest wisely. One other player I should point to, Ryan Edwards, speaking of Messiah Edwards, not related to Ryan Edwards, but Ryan Andrews, pardon me. Oh, gosh. Ryan Andrews, sorry, had, to me, a disappointing season as well. I've talked about this earlier about certain players who were not so good this season, TDB among them, Georgie amongst them. But I think that you've got to add to that mix Ryan Andrews. He got a bit lost for me. He had some great moments at times this season, but he got lost, I think, the second half of the season, lost in the shuffle. Zach Craig on Instagram is not lost in the shuffle, but Ryan Andrews got lost in the shuffle during the second half of the season. There may have been an injury or two, a suspension or two, but Ryan Andrews, to me, flamed out a bit, you know, his flame kind of got extinguished at various parts of this season. But hopefully he comes back better if he does come back. Hopefully he does. He has a long-term contract, but as I keep saying, records and contracts are made to be broken. I say, no, it's a broken record, speaking of which. But that's my view on that. Watford fans, what are your views on who you expect to be here next season? I've in the past asked you who would be the first 5 Watford players you would bring in and the first 5 you'd let go of. And some of you who have given those comments over the last few weeks, and I appreciate them. I've given my 5 who I'd keep. But look, I've just got to read out the rest of these comments before I forget to. Brown Electron says, if someone would have told me our best players this season would have been Pollock, Loser, and Barr, I would have laughed till the cows came home. And that is exactly who are the best 3 players at Watford. Yeah, Brown Electrons on YouTube. I agree with you. I mean, I would not have had Loser anywhere near that. Pollock, I wouldn't have had anywhere near that. And Barr, to me, even though he had some promise in the season before, because he was largely on loan, wasn't he, Barr? And he did have a glimpse here and there at the end of last season, but he was really, genuinely speaking, for the most part, an unknown quantity for the most part in parts of last season when he made those cameo appearances. He looked good, but an unknown quantity for the most part for me. And there he is. He is my pick, Brown, for player of the season, Quadro Barr. And that's my pick. And Loser is my pick for comeback player of the season and most improved player of the season. I know that's not an award that Watford give out, but that's my award. Keith Merriweather, hello to you, Keith, on Instagram. Welcome aboard to this final edition of You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. Keith, thank you for your continued support here. Great to see you here. A good day for Watford because Luton Town are down. The Town are down. Yes. I am very happy about this. And of course, all of us as Watford supporters are very happy about Luton Town going down, going down, going down, going down, down with the Town. And they got a new stadium coming, innit? Gotta love that. Again, as I've said repeatedly here, I'm going to go on X a bit later at You ORNS WFC, and I'm going to dig up that screenshot of that Luton Town fan back in October of 2024 who was so confident that Watford would finish much lower, would finish lower than Luton. What does that mean? That means we're going to be, what, in League Two in the National League? Is that what that means there? I can't wait to put that post together on X. I cannot wait. Oh, I've got the screenshots still. I'm no fool. Mama didn't raise no fool. I have got that screenshot, mate. And I cannot wait to put that up and at that Luton Town fan. Oh, goodness. Because experience is the best teacher, right? And experience shows you that you do not chirp in October when you still got 6 months of a season to go, when you still got nearly 7 months of a season to go. Don't get happy in October when you still got to get to May. And May Day came 2 days late for Luton Town. May Day, we're going down. SOS. SOS. We're going down. Ooh, like the Titanic. Ooh, ooh. And speaking of which, Brown and Letchers talked about the back-to-back relegations. Southampton. Isn't that interesting? And I said let me say this again. Speaking of back-to-back relegations in Southampton and Luton Town, Southampton, I just said we're going down like the Titanic. Of course, you know, where did the Titanic set sail from? Southampton. Keep that in mind. Lots of jokes, I'm sure, flying around the internets and the YouTubes and the X's and the social medias as I speak. Thank you very much, Watford supporters, for bearing with me on this last edition of this season of the You ORNS post-match on YouTube and the You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. It's been a great pleasure to have you aboard here. We're just talking shop here. You're just kind of a free-flowing talk on Watford. Your approach to this season. I'm going to read out your comments. Brown, I've got to read yours out as well. I will read that in a moment. But what is your approach to this season? What is your overall feeling? If you can sum it up in one word or even in a few sentences, it doesn't have to be one word. How do you respond? What is your impression of this season that we've just had? If you can do it in a sentence or two, fine. If it's one word for you, fine. For me, I can't do it in one word. I can do it in about 3 sentences. A good season, a positive season, a frustratingly inconsistent season. Those are my 3 sentences. I can do it in 3 sentences. Good season, positive season, frustratingly inconsistent season. That's how I describe this season for the Watford men's first team. Adam Piper, hello to you, Adam. Thank you for piping up and piping in to Watford and You ORNS WFC Extra on Instagram Live. Thank you very much, Adam. It's good to have you aboard. Now, let me read what Brown has to say on YouTube. He says, Omar, as well, I just want to thank you for the continued Watford coverage. I look forward to the post-match discussions as much as the games. Oh, thank you, Brown. That's really appreciated. Thank you very much for that. It's very kind of you. It's always great to have you aboard here. I really value, respect, and appreciate you and every other Watford fan in the building who comes in, and even people who are not Watford fans who come in here and give really good comments, as you have throughout this season. We have Loka, that Portsmouth fan, who has been coming in and been really even-handed and really good with the comments and very insightful with the comments that he's made. And I'm sure he was very pleased today when he came in earlier and told us that. They did us a favor, relegated the rivals. So we do thank Loka and Portsmouth for doing that with the 1-1 draw against Hull City. And of course, West Bromwich Albion smashed that lot up the road 5-3 in that game at the Hawthorns to end Luton's season in the Championship. Yay! So really good stuff there. But Brown, thank you very much for your comments. I really appreciate you, respect you, and every Watford fan that comes in here. And in general, really appreciate what you've had to say about Watford throughout this entire season. And thank you for those kind words. They really do mean a hell of a lot. They mean the world to me when people say these very kind and nice things. You know, I mean, people can say some nasty things as well, and they have. And I'm sure you've experienced some of that too, with some fans making some comments that you've got like, you're like this. But anybody home? But Brown, no, seriously, Brown, thank you so very much for your comments. We'll go with a couple more minutes here on You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live and You ORNS post-match, Watford FC post-match on YouTube. It's really been a great pleasure to have you aboard throughout this entire season. Can't believe the season's already over. It is a season that went by really fast. At times it didn't go by very fast, but for the most part it did. We look back before the beginning of the season, we're looking at Watford against Millwall at the Den. And now we've looked at Watford versus Sheffield Wednesday at the Vic. Incredible. And 9 months have just passed by, just like that. 9 freaking months. It's incredible, isn't it? 9 months have gone. That shows you how quickly time flies when you're having fun, or even if you're not having fun, time still flies. I used to say time flies when you're having fun, but time flies also when you're not having fun. At least to me it does, but that's just me. Above average considering circumstances. That's as short as I can get it, says Brown. When I was just asking you a few moments ago, fellow Watford supporters, how would you categorize this season? Can you put it into one word? Can you put it into a couple of sentences? And how would you do that? And Brown says above average considering circumstances. That's a really good comment, and that's as short as I can get it. That's a good job from you, Brown. And again, the shorter the better, but if you can do it in a few sentences, that's fine as well. The soundbite culture is, of course, something that we've lived with for a long time, and I'd say for worse, not necessarily for better. But the bottom line is that that's a really good one, above average considering circumstances. Thank you, Brown, for that comment once again. And Matt chimes in as well. And Matt says this: first half of the season was a shock because of the amount of home wins, but second half of the season was a bit of a tug of war between games. We should have won, but didn't, says Matt, because of miscommunication. Matt, thank you for your comment as well. A tale of two seasons, really, wasn't it? Matt, I mean, everybody watching and listening, a tale of two seasons for Watford FC, a tale of two halves. For much of the first half of the season, Watford looked like a really good outfit. And that prompted those on BBC Three Counties radio, I think in either October or early November, to really start to go cock-a-hoop about Watford's chances of being in the top six, of finishing in the top six. And I just caution that. I just think that again, I know I've been a broken record on this. I just caution people not to get too excited. And you can't help it as a Watford supporter, considering our lack of success in general over the last 3 years or so. But got to be cautious about calling out something grand in October of a season. That's fool's gold. I'm not condemning anyone who has. I'm just saying, just be careful of that. And if you're going to make predictions, as I say all the time, make them prior to the start of the season. And I know things can change during the season. You've got the January transfer market, all the rest. But this is the period of time now that we all have to watch out for, which brings me back again to Tom Cleverley and not taking our eye off the ball where this owner is concerned with Tom Cleverley. We have to make our voices heard as Watford fans during the summer. I put out a video last week here on here on Instagram and here on YouTube. Here on X and on Instagram. Oh my gosh, all these platforms. Which one's which? I really do hope that more Watford fans make a video or write a statement and at Watford FC or at Watford FC official, include them in it. And on Instagram, include Tom Cleverley's handle. He's on Instagram, Tom Cleverley. Let him know that you appreciate him. And make sure you at Tom Cleverley, and you can find him on Instagram, and make sure you at Watford FC official on Instagram. Let them know how you feel. Because I just think, look, some people will say, well, he won't care anyway. Maybe that's true. Maybe it's not true. Maybe Gino Pozzo doesn't give a monkeys about the videos. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. But the fact is, we should at least do them. Let's make the videos regardless of what he cares about. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't make the videos because maybe some of us think that, oh, well, Gino's not going to care. He's going to sack him anyway. We have to make our voices heard is the point I'm making. And so that's really what I really would love to see. But I know there are lots of portions of the fan base. They're not going to, in reality, do anything. They just want to go from day to day, not be interfered with, not have to pay too much extra on a season ticket, and they want to be on their merry way. And I'm not criticizing that. I'm just really depicting that as the reality of the everyday person, not only the everyday Watford fan. Most people in the world don't do the bold thing or the risky thing. I'm not saying what I did was risky or bold, because I don't think it was. In terms of making the video, that's not risky, that's not bold, that's just doing something that I think is sensible to do. But not everybody's going to do that. Not everybody's going to agree with that. There are lots of Watford fans who don't think making a video is going to make a difference. But it's not about all of that. It's about communicating your message and using your voice as a fan to be heard, because you have a voice as a fan and your voice has incredible power. You may not realize that. You may maybe socialize to think that that's not the case. But we as Watford fans have so much vocal power. We have so much power in our voices. And a football club is nothing without the fans. A football club is nothing without its fans. And we have to make our voices heard. So that's my position on that. Thank you, Will Nash, WFC, for joining. Jack Majelli's here in the US. Thank you for joining as well on this final edition of You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live. Really appreciate you all for joining and chiming in. Been reading your comments. I want to ask this question one more time for those of you on Instagram, because some people on YouTube have already answered it. What is your overall impression of the season that has just ended for Watford? If you had to put it in a word, or maybe not a word, but maybe in a few words, in a couple of sentences, maybe 3 sentences, what is your impression of this season? If someone came down here from Mars and said, tell me about Watford's 2024-25 season and how you felt about it, what would you tell them? What would you tell those Martians? That's really all I want to. I've had some good comments here from Brown and Matt as well on YouTube. We'll go for 5 more minutes as my oatmeal's getting very cold. Anyway, that's what happens when you have an early afternoon kickoff, and then here in California, it's still 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning. But bottom line is that I think the season was a good season, a positive season, and a frustratingly inconsistent season. Those are my 3. That's 3 sentences for me. Matt has said that first half of the season was a shock because of the amount of home wins, but second half of the season was a bit of a tug of war between the games we should have won but didn't because of miscommunication. So Matt speaks to the inconsistency part. And then Brown Electrons earlier said, above average considering circumstances. That's as short as I can get it. And by the way, that comment is going to be the You ORNS Watford FC fan comment of this game, of this show. Both Matt and Brown Electrons have been really good, consistent commenters, and there are others who have. Richard Lees as well has done a really good job at this, and all of you have. I know that Brown and Matt do weigh in on a very frequent basis, and I appreciate that. I appreciate all of you for making the comments. Brown Electrons does get that final shout out for the You ORNS Watford FC fan comment of this show. I really appreciate that. One last thing as well before we do say goodbye for the summer, although I might end up doing another seasons review. I might do a seasons review show as well. So I won't discount that here on YouTube and on Instagram and on X as well. Maybe on X as well, but definitely on these 2 platforms, Instagram and YouTube. I may well do an end of season review. I might. We'll see. Maybe not. But the only other question I have for you is, who is your player of the season? We've had some comments on this earlier. Mine is Quadro Bar, even though he didn't play the entire season. In fact, he missed at least 3 months, close to 3 months of the season at least, because he just was very significant for Watford and really added some heft and dimension to us on the right-hand side of the pitch. He was a very significant player. He made Watford bolder. He was a bolder. He was bolder. He made Watford bolder, stronger in attack, bolder. Very tricky player to deal with. Very fearless player, smart player, intelligent player. Somebody I think really did make a difference for Watford. A really significant difference in the front half of the attack, front half of the pitch. And I think that Imran Louza is the comeback player of the season. That's what I think he is, the most improved player. I know most Watford fans who voted, or at least I know that I believe most Watford fans are going to end up selecting and have selected, I would guess, I imagine, Imran Louza. Because obviously, look, Imran Louza has had a major impact this season. He has definitely been very significant, but I don't always think he's been consistent, like the club, like the team itself. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not backing Louza for player of the season. Now, will I be surprised if he gets that honor, as many expect? No, I do not expect anyone else but Louza to win the player of the season. And I think to some degree it's deserved, but I think it's more apt for him to be comeback player of the season, or maybe most improved player of the season. That if we were giving out awards for those two things, Imran Louza would win that by a country mile, because he clearly is the comeback player of the season. He has come back from injuries. He's come back from the discipline problems under Val Ishmael. He was forgotten. He was a forgotten man at Watford, and now he's the bee's knees, or the hornet's knees. You know, he's been terrific. Can't deny that. But I think Kwadwo Bar, even though he's not played a whole season, I think he's been extra special. I really do. He gave defenses fits. Now, Imran Louza is a great technical player. I get it. They play in different positions of the pitch. Imran Louza is the best technical player Watford have. He's clearly the technician. It's not to say that other players don't have technical ability. I think that they do. I think Bar has some technical ability. I think that Vata has some technical ability. Can't even say that word. Must be my oatmeal that's gone cold. I blame the oatmeal. Ah, dear. But I think that Kwadwo Bar to me is the one. But again, he's probably not going to win the player of the season, because again, people will look at the fact, well, he didn't play the whole season. That's what they're going to look at. Some people will pick Matty Pollock. Some people will pick James Abankwah, even though he didn't play the whole season. Some people might go for Agil Selvik, even though he didn't play the whole season. You know, remember, there is a precedent for players who did not play a whole season who ended up winning the Graham Taylor Player of the Season award at Watford, tongue-tied on this Saturday. Remember, Hassan Kamara, is it Kamara? I always forget his last name. Hassan, is it Kamara? Hassan, whatever his last name was, for Watford a couple of seasons ago, ended up winning Player of the Season. He came in January. That was in the Premier League year. He came in, he came in January of that year, and was voted Player of the Season, which he clearly was. Hassan Kamara, I think that's his name. But the bottom line is that, yeah, he didn't play a whole season, but he won the award. But I don't think that people are going to give it to Bar. I think he deserves it, though, Kwadwo Bar. But the bottom line is that it's probably going to be Louza. I won't be surprised by that, because again, he has been remarkable this season. I just don't think he's been as consistent this season. But he's certainly, if you're looking at him year on, what's the word I'm trying to find here? I'm thinking of an economic term, not year to year, but anyway, year on year. Yeah, he's shown great leaps and bounds, which is why I think he's the comeback player of the season, or the most improved player. That's what I think, because he was on his way out of here. Matty Pollock, by the way, was also looking for a job, basically. It was widely expected that Matty Pollock was going to leave. There were rumors that he put in a transfer. This is last season. I mean, he was rumored, or in the offseason, rumored to have put in a transfer at Watford. All these rumors. Then we found out that he never wanted to leave the Vic, and that he did not really do that transfer request thing, or maybe he did. I don't even really remember anymore. It was a year ago now. And he was on the verge of leaving here. And then he got played when Tom Cleverley came in. Tom Cleverley played him. And for a while, it looked like Matty Pollock was going to be the player of the season. But then that kind of fizzled out as we got to December and we got to January. And his second half of the season wasn't particularly, to me, was not outstanding. He was good, but he wasn't great. I think the second half of this season really tapered off a lot. But you see the leadership there. And I think that's why I call this season a good season and a positive season, because you see, as I said earlier, attributes from these players that are really positive, improvement in these players that is very encouraging, and a wisdom about some of these players that gives you some confidence, even though the defending needs to be really sorted out. The defending is awful at this team. This team cannot defend at times. But there were some bright spots, even with that obvious recognition. There was a time when Watford went, 3 straight games with a clean sheet? That was a couple of months ago, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in the offseason. But let me read out these comments. I feel, says Matt on YouTube, and thank you, Matt, for your comments. I also feel like sometimes this season has felt like a roller coaster going up and down. Yeah, it has been, Matt. It's been a roller coaster. Very inconsistent season. Very inconsistent. Jekyll and Watford, very, very inconsistent. Not only from game to game, but half to half. Oh my goodness me. I mean, we are so, and I'm gonna resist any decision to use, because I'm not going to use medical terms, because that's not fair and it's offensive in my view to do that. But I will say this, that this team is so inconsistent. That's a real problem for me. And they've got to learn that lesson. They really do. Let me read out. Holly, by the way, has joined us on Instagram. I'm going to bring Holly on to have a live chat in just a moment's time, because Holly is always really insightful and terrific to listen to, and really wise with her football, and her analysis of Watford is just spot on. And she gives it to you straight, which is why I really like and respect Holly, because she gives it to you straight. She's not one of these Watford fans who sits there and just doesn't give an opinion. I'm not knocking them fans who do that. I'm just saying that Holly is going to tell you what she's thinking. So, Holly, I'm gonna bring you on in a minute. I just got to read out these comments, Holly, on Insta. And Richard Lee says, "Good season, 14th place, where we are mid-table team now. That long run we went on kept us up." Richard, that's a good shout from you, mate, as usual. Because you could really make a case that through all this wacky inconsistency, the platform that Watford built with Tom Cleverley in the first 3 months of the season turned out to be enough cover to keep us up. We basically wrote our safety to November and early December. That's where we got safe, basically. And we didn't get the points yet, but we had put together enough of a backbone of performances together, a resume, a CV of performances together, that ensured us safety, essentially. That's a good point there, Richard. Thank you for making it, mate. Really appreciate it. And Matt, before we get to Holly, one more comment here. Matt says on YouTube, "My player of the season is Barr, because he's been our strongest player, even with injuries. Also, without his runs into the box, we wouldn't have won so many penalties this season." Yeah, he earned us at least 6 penalties this season, at least maybe 7. It's a good, again, all this talk about Loser. I'm not hating on Loser. But I think you're overlooking Quadro Barr for those. And I get it, he didn't play a whole season. Player of the season involves many intangibles, and Loser has rightly got a lot of them, but so does Barr. I mean, he only played basically half a season for you, and yet he made such a big impact. All right, now, Holly is really getting on me here to bring her in, so I'm going to bring you in now, Holly. I don't understand this. What is Instagram doing that it's not allowing people to make requests? Are they putting a block on me or something? You Instagram lot, I'm gonna have to, not you, Holly, but I'm gonna have to really get on the case of these people at Instagram. Why are they making it harder for people to let people in? What is this? Anyway, let me see if I can bring Holly up. And Holly, I don't know why they're not letting you in, but let me see if I can get you in here. Hold on. Bear with me. I'm bringing Holly in. Goodness gracious me, I do not know why they are not allowing me to bring Holly in. Hold on. Go live with Holly. Holly is about to come in, and let's see if we can go live now to Holly in. Oh, goodness me, it's not. Yes, she is coming up. Hey, there she is. There she is.
I think the best thing has happened today, let's be honest.
Of course.
The little Luton Estate Council Estate Club have been knocked down a few pegs, and let's be honest, they haven't got the money anymore to afford any of their players. And they want a new stadium as well.
Yes, Holly, you said it, mate. They're going down, going down, going down, going down. Down with the town. The town are going down.
Was that game winnable? No. Let me be honest. That was not. We didn't deserve to win that game. We played like, let's be honest, we played like we were on the beach. And let's be honest, half of our players are on the beach. Imran Loser deserves player of the season. I don't care what people say. The effort that man put in today just shows why he deserves player of the season. It just sums it up, really. And to be honest, Messiah Edwards needs more time on the ball. That's all I'm going to say. He came on, I think, how long did he come on for? I'm going to say 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
He made more impact than Bayo has in his whole fucking career. But at least we haven't got Backman. Yeah.
Yeah, Backman's gone, I think. I mean, he's not in the team sheet anymore.
I reckon he's leaving.
I agree.
That's it for Backman.
I think you're right, Holly. I've been saying that before you came on. I said the same thing. I think he's a goner.
Apparently, there is talks that Tapse hasn't left. He wants to stay at the club. So the thing is, no one knows. It's early days of what's going to happen because, let's be honest, the season literally finished 20 minutes ago. So
it's over. Yep.
We'll find out in a couple of weeks.
We certainly will. What do you think, Holly?
I think Tom Cleverley.
Yeah.
I think Tom Cleverley is the man for the job.
Yes.
But we need someone else. We need someone else to back him up. Maybe we need 2 people. That's all. Maybe we need 2 people to help him. And then maybe we might get a good position.
Can't hear the audio at the moment, Holly. Oh, that's a shame. Holly, hopefully. There we go. Okay, we missed you for a bit there. You went out for the audio, but it's good to hear you again. I agree. Tom Cleverley's probably going to stay. And thank you, Holly, for your comments. Obviously, Holly on the road there. Great to have Holly on board as ever. Great to hear from her. Her views on Watford. Listen, I respect Holly a great deal. She'll always give it to you straight, and I love that. I love fans who are very passionate, as Holly is, as many of us are. We're all passionate fans. I really do respect Holly for her passion and her views on the club and on this Watford first team. And it's great to have Holly on board. Thank you, Holly. Missed you a bit of audio. We missed a bit of your audio for a moment, but we did hear you say, "Come on, you Orns." Of course, that's the most important thing. And we also heard you say Luton down. That's the other important thing as well. So we're loving that. Thank you, Holly, for your comments. And by the way, just to say something really quickly about what Holly was saying. She said that she has a Losers Player of the Season. Again, I think most Watford fans will have voted for him and do think he's going to be Player of the Season. I think he will end up being Player of the Season. She also added something that I wanted to touch on as well. One thing I would say is Watford's performance today I thought was a little bit better. I mean, that's where I differ from what Holly said there slightly. I thought that Watford played better than they have of the late. When they lost those 4 games in a row, they seemed very indifferent and they seemed partially on the beach at some points in some of those games. I don't know that I think Watford, and I understand what Holly's saying about being on the beach. I felt that Watford were not totally on the beach. I think some of the players are, so I agree with Holly on that. But I think overall, this performance today did not reflect being on the beach. I thought that Watford gave a very spirited account of themselves. excuse me, especially in the second half, especially the second half. And I thought that Watford were better and better technically throughout the entire game, and chiefly because of Loser. Loser obviously was the man of the match today. But again, as I'll keep saying, in the wilderness on this one, I do think that Barr is the player of the season and Loser is the comeback player of the season. But the bottom line is that Loser today was outstanding. He was in the match. He was outstanding. That great ball over the top, a really brilliant ball right to the feet of Sissoko that was the equalizing goal. Sissoko ran onto it. Great control from Sissoko. And coming off suspension, put that ball in the back of the net. That's a really good finish from him. And a great ball through. That's a terrific ball from Loser. So Loser obviously is going to stay on, I certainly hope. And if Georgie stays on, great. But, again, I don't know. I kind of got mixed feelings about Georgie at this point, And the season has been over now for it's been more than 20 minutes. It's been an hour or two, hour and a half now. But I understand what Holly means with that. I really do believe that Georgie, it would be great if he comes back. But if he comes back, he's got to adapt his game a bit more. He's got to expand his game. And that does come through tactics. It comes through what the manager wants, what the expectations are. But I think Georgie really should expand his game a bit, because I think a lot of defenses have really found him out and he becomes a bit more one-dimensional and a bit more predictable. And I really hope that if he does come back, that he does work on expanding his game. He's a good technical player, but I know this will sound harsh, a bit of a one-trick pony at times. But Georgie is blooming good. He's a good footballer. But I really would like to see him expand his game a bit more. That's all I'm saying. But I'm in two minds about him because, again, I do think that Watford need a little bit extra. And I'm not necessarily convinced. And I know that I'll get disagreements on this as well. But that's fine. That's fine. I'm not necessarily convinced that Georgie is the answer. I'm not. I mean, there is no one answer, right, at Watford Football Club. For anything, well, maybe there is, but but there's a number of multiple number of things that I think need to happen at the club in the off season in terms of the men's first team and the academy and development, which is going well. I think the academy, the youth team had a really good season. FA Cup semi-final, losing to Man City in the FA Youth Cup is no semi-final. There's no shame losing 1-0 at home to them or whatever the score was. I think it was 1-0. No shame in losing that game. The youth teams had a great season. Great season. But yeah, Georgie, for me, I'm in two minds about. I'll just confess. Oh, my confession. I confess in my, the song goes from years ago, Midnight Confessions. That's a great song, by the way. That's back in the 60s or early 70s. In my midnight confessions. Go look that up if you've on your device. Midnight Confessions. I forget who sang that tune, that song. I love that song, by the way. Anyway, it's also on the Jackie Brown soundtrack. If you've ever seen Quentin Tarantino's film Jackie Brown, it's also on the soundtrack for that film. So anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Yeah, I'm in two minds about Georgie. That's my confession. Now, that's not a midnight confession, but it's a confession made here this afternoon. I'm in two minds about Georgie. I really am. Never thought I'd say that in terms of him being here. I'm really kind of leaning towards, I don't know, making a change there. But if he's back, I will not be unhappy if he's back. Let's put it that way. Anyway, make of that what you will, Watford supporters. I know I've said I've gone for a few more minutes, but as usual, I go way past the finish line here on You ORNS Extra on Instagram Live and You ORNS WFC post-match on YouTube. Let me read out some comments here. One more from Matt that he puts up. I think they should just send Backman with Bio to Udinese. Then I'd be having a party and wouldn't have to be stressing if I see his name still on the team sheet next season. Yeah, I think a lot of us echo your sentiments, Matt, about Daniel Backman. Again, as I will say forever and always, Daniel Backman is a really good person, good quality human being. I really think he's a really good person. As I always say, however, Being a good person does not pay the bills when you're on the pitch at Watford FC, at the Vic, or anywhere. And in football, in the game of football, being a good, decent person is important, is a good thing. But when it comes to playing your position, that gets thrown out the window. Let's be fair, right? It's all about mastering your domain, if you will, and doing it to the best of your skill and ability. And Daniel Batman has had some excellent moments at this club, brilliant moments for a number of games. There have been seasons where he's really given us 15 extra points, literally, by his brilliant performances. But then there's been too many seasons where he has not inspired confidence from a segment of Watford fans. I wouldn't say every Watford fan. I wouldn't even say perhaps most Watford fans, because I don't know outside of social media what most Watford fans, people based in Hertfordshire or anywhere across the world, really think about Daniel Bagman. But I do know on social media, which is not necessarily the best barometer, I would agree, is not the best barometer to judge this, but where we are is social media right now. We're online, and online, be it here, be it on Instagram, be it on X, be it on whatever platform, there is a sizable number, a healthy majority of Watford supporters who, when they express this, do not want Bachmann here as the number one goalkeeper. And not only do they not want Bachmann here as the number one goalkeeper, they don't want Bachmann here. Period. They don't want him here. And it's not because they have anything personal against him, although some of those Watford fans earlier in the season and last season who were saying the most venomous things about Daniel Bachmann personally. And I really attacked that when that happened. When I heard about that, I definitely spoke up. And look, it's not just me. It's not about me. It's about we all have to speak out against that stuff. I mean, you can say that you can have your view about Daniel Bachmann as a goalkeeper, but come on, mate. Threatening him, comparing him to these really evil people in the world. Really? That's what you do as a Watford supporter? Really? No, we have to stand up against that kind of nonsense. Threats against him? Really? No, we have to stand up against that and condemn it. And I feel very strongly about that. Even as I have said that I would rather see Agil Selvik at Watford than Daniel Bachmann. That's not being nasty to Daniel Bachmann. It's being an honest assessment based on his goalkeeping, and it's not an attack on his personal life, an attack on him as a person or his family. I mean, no, it's not. But these people, you've got a few fans who do these very odious things, and I really wish they would knock it off. That goes for any fan that does this to any player, no matter who they are or what they look like. No matter how much we might not like their football or might not like their goalkeeping, it never, ever calls for anyone to be threatening goalkeepers or any other position player or anyone at all. This cannot stand, and we must speak out against it. I am really on top of that. I really believe in that. You have to. It's very important. But as far as Daniel Bachmann is concerned, he probably is out the door. He probably is. And, a lot of Watford fans will not be shedding a tear about that. That's the reality. He's given us some really great moments in goal, saved us incredibly in a lot of games. But as I say, there have been a lot of games where that's not been the case. It's a rough trade. You deal with, this comes with the territory. This is why footballers, I think, would be smart to stay off social media and stay off YouTube, because then they don't get to listen to people like me. What the hell do I know? Talking about how we should have this goalkeeper over that one. But anyway, I don't think Dan Bachmann's on social media. He might be. But anyway, the bottom line is that I do give him credit for the good years that he did have here. And if he is to leave in the summer, I do wish him well. I mean, I can say that. I'm a person and a human being and man enough to say I wish Daniel Bachmann well. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I wish him well. If he is leaving in the summer, I wish him all the best wherever he lands. I'll be the first to say to him, the best of luck to you. Thank you for what you've done. Best of luck to you wherever you land next. and to your family. I'll be the first one to do that. I would do that. I would do it. If he was in here right now, I'd say that to him. When you move on, you have to move on. And when it's time to move on, you have to move on. You know, some people don't know what to do with that. Whether it's in boxing, some people don't have, they one prize fight too many. How many boxers have we seen over the years? One prize fight too many, right? Evander, I can name all the Evander Holyfield, you can go through them, Mike Tyson, all the rest of it. But anyway, I'm really getting off the beaten path here. This season, again, 3 sentences for me. Good season, positive season, incredibly, frustratingly inconsistent season. Those are my 3. I want to take this moment to thank each and every one of you. And Matt has said this well. Omar, thank you, he said, for the amazing post-match chats we've had this whole season about the team we love. Can't wait to chat about them again next season. I want to thank you all so very much indeed. Thank you, Matt, for those very kind words as well. They are very much appreciated. Matt, thank you for all of the great comments that you've made. Thank you for continuing to support You ORNS WFC on YouTube. Please subscribe, tell your friends to do the same, and subscribe, please, at You ORNS WFC on YouTube, as I said, and join up by following on You ORNS WFC on Instagram and X. I do want to thank you all, one and all, Watford supporters, and to those of you who aren't Watford supporters, like Loca, who is the Portsmouth fan, who has come in and chimed in the last few weeks, and Watford fans who have throughout this season, the entire season, throughout this season, stuck with it here on You ORNS WFC. I will actually finally, I promise, do an end of season podcast. That I definitely will do at You ORNS. Excuse me, on Apple and Spotify. Go to You ORNS. That's the podcast. And I will do something like that, I think maybe today or tomorrow, for the end of season. But I want to thank each and every one of you on Instagram, to Holly, to Tracy, to Jack Majellis, Keith Merriweather, to so many of you who commented or just listened and watched over the last 9 months and change. Thank you so very much for doing that. Really appreciate you. Please spread the word. Please come back next season. I might do an end of season Instagram as well, beyond this one, a season review, but I might not, so I shouldn't hold anything. Don't hold me to that. But I want to thank you all for commenting throughout this entire campaign. It's been a real pleasure and honor to have you aboard, and I do really respect each and every one of you who comes in and has your say on this club that we love so dearly. Thank you very much for those of you on Instagram. Thank you very much indeed to those of you as well on YouTube, and to those of you on X as well, who we spoke to earlier. Thanks so very much. Richard Lees chimes in and says, thank you, Omar, for your insight into the season. See you next season, says Richard. See you as well, Richard, next season as well. And to all of you here from sunny San Francisco, California, to wherever you are across the world watching, from me, Omar, it's a great pleasure and privilege to have you aboard. Thank you so very much indeed for tuning in here. We'll be doing this again next season when it all starts all over again in the month of August. So we will rest, relax, keep our eye on Gino, and make our voices heard. Please do that. And also we will get ready to come back in August for another Watford season with hopefully Tom Cleverley back in post. Thank you so very much indeed. Bring on next season, says Matt, without a lot down the road. Absolutely right, Matt. Thank you, Matt, for that as ever. And to those of you everywhere watching, whether you're watching live or watching later, thank you so very much indeed. Take care of yourselves. And one last time from me, Omar, take care and have a great summer, everyone. Thank you.